there, my name is Allie and I am the mom of a 10-year-old girl named Danny, and this is our second year homeschooling. And I decided it's time to start a YouTube channel. Honestly, I was really nervous to start making content about this topic. And I don't know why, because in my professional career, I'm used to this. I own a couple of businesses. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a couple of gyms and a martial arts studio in my community, and I'm an online fitness and nutrition coach. So I'm used to creating content like YouTube videos. I'm used to speaking to my clients via video in my virtual coaching work. And so it's not a comfort of being on camera, but I think it was more of a nervousness that I didn't have the time in the trenches as a homeschool mom, that maybe my information or perspective or opinions wasn't, valuable enough. That's silly. I know that. But I don't know. I thought that for a moment. Or maybe I just didn't have the right setup, like the right camera and the right lighting and the microphone and all of those things. And so I was really hesitant to start for some strange reason. And so finally I was like, you know what? We're just going to make a video. We're going to get it over with. We're going to rip off the Band-Aid and just talk. And the reason that I wanted to do this, the reason that I wanted to start sharing my experience and creating content around this topic is because when I first dove into the idea of homeschooling and I was looking for information and experiences and opinions, YouTube was one of my all-time favorite and most influential resources. I swear, I watched every homeschool video that exists on YouTube. And I got to see so many different homeschool moms and YouTube channels and content creators talking about this topic, and everybody had a different background and experience and opinions and different struggles and successes. They used different curriculums. They had different educational styles that they were really interested in. And it just gave me the ability to just take in all of this information and really feel out what resonated with me and what didn't, and kind of make some early decisions about the direction that we wanted to take our homeschool. So I kind of thought, you know what? This was such a helpful resource for me. And already, even though I'm only 2 years into this, I have people asking me questions, people in my own social circle and in my community asking me questions about why we chose to homeschool. What kind of curriculums and resources are we using? Do we plan on continuing to homeschool through high school? How do we make sure that our child has social experiences? And all of those common questions I'm getting asked. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to make the videos and I'm going to talk about it because I'm passionate about it. I'm excited about it. And perhaps my experience, my opinion, will have a positive impact on somebody else, or will help them to find what resonates with them or what doesn't. And hopefully sharing my experience is valuable to somebody else. So here we are. First homeschooling video on this channel. And we're going to talk about what brought our family to homeschooling. So we shall start at the beginning, the very beginning. A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Actually, not that far. Growing up, I was not homeschooled myself. I do not have first-person experience with it. In that capacity, I went to a Catholic school from K to 12, but I lived next door and was best friends with a couple of girls who were homeschooled from about third grade to all the way through grade 12 and graduated. And I got to experience education or witness and experience their education through them. And it was so cool. It was, I distinctly remember coming home from school and then going over to their house, taking my books with me, because if I had homework, I would take it over with me, sitting at their kitchen table, and they may or may not have been finished their own work, but I would sit down with my homework, and they would be working on their lessons, and it was just so unique to be able to compare and contrast the different things we were learning about, how they were approaching their math lessons versus how I was getting taught my math lessons. It was just such a cool opportunity to witness the different routes that people can take and what is available in terms of education. And this was in like the 90s, 2000s, and there's so much more now. But I just remember at the time just seeing how much freedom that they had available to them, and it was a really cool thing to witness. And that had a big impact on me. And even though I didn't have a negative experience at school, I really enjoyed school. I really liked my education. I had no major negative components to it. It was just neat to witness what cool things they got to do. And I think I would have thrived in that environment as well. And so growing up, now I've moved on. I have grown up and gotten married and had a child of my own. And I remember very early on almost having like this deep, dark secret. Like I really wanted to homeschool my child. And I remember the first time that I brought it up to my husband. I think our daughter was very young. Like she must have been a baby at the time. It was really arguably very early to be talking about homeschooling. But I remember, just kind of bringing it up, being like, hey, I'd be interested in homeschooling her. And he wasn't negative about it. He wasn't like, no, that's ridiculous. But he definitely brought up some concerns that he had about whether or not we had the capacity for it with our careers and our businesses at the time and our schedules and just his own preconceived notions about what homeschooling entailed. It just seemed like it was not a possibility for us. So that conversation was left in the past. Our child got a little bit bigger. We sent her to preschool for a couple of days of the week, hang out, play with other kids. And then kindergarten in our area is mornings, 5 days a week. And that was lovely because she got to go and do activities and play and learn some stuff and, learn letters and do little centers and all of the things. It was great. It was lovely. And then she would come home for the afternoons. And because my husband and my schedule is quite unique, we tend to work, earlier mornings and then evenings. So we have a bit of a split shift thing happening. We were all home as a family in the afternoons. And so that felt very comfortable because we still got tons of family time. She got to do her activities and such in the morning with kindergarten. We got to do our work in the morning. And then in the afternoons, she either had maybe some extracurricular activities or we had a local family that babysat her in the evenings when we worked an evening shift. And so fast forward, now we're in grade 1 and it is a full day. That sucked. That was not fun because all of a sudden our family time really shifted, really changed because now she was in school from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. And then we either had clients, personal training clients, or fitness classes or martial arts classes in the evening. And so we were kind of living for the weekend. We didn't get to hang out every day like we used to. And it felt like we were always apart. And that was not comfortable. And so that was the experience for grade 1 and grade 2. And then for the beginning of 3rd grade, at the end of grade 2, beginning of 3rd grade, we were like, no, we're changing something up. We're bringing her home. And that was that. And now we're on the end of our 2nd year, so finishing up grade 4. And it has been the most life-changing experience. And it has been so wonderful for our family. And so I want to start off with this video by saying there were no specific and distinct negative reasons that we moved away from public school to homeschooling. Our local school that our daughter was in was quite lovely. We knew all of her teachers just because our city is a bit of a small one. So we actually knew all of her teachers each year from other things, not just from the school, just from other community activities, friends of friends. And it was a really lovely school. She was in French immersion, and it was a great experience. The school was beautiful. The community was really beautiful. She had great little friends, and her teachers were so wonderful. So we didn't have a negative experience that pulled us away from it. And I know that is some people's experience, whether their child dealt with bullying, or they were unhappy with the content that was being presented to their child. I know that's some people's major reason for moving away from public education. Or their child maybe had special needs of some kind and they weren't getting the resources or attention that they needed. There's all sorts of reasons. And I just wanted to be really clear that ours was not a negative one. We chose to move towards homeschooling for all of the positive benefits that we could see on the other side of it. And so that's what I kind of came to talk about today, was what are our big whys? Why did we choose to go the route of homeschooling? What are our major benefits that we've noticed, and what is keeping us doing this, and what feels like it is the right move to continue with. So the first major why that we had for going from public school system to homeschooling was the customized learning experience. When you are managing a classroom of 20, 25, 30 children, and they all have different interests and passions and excitements, there is absolutely no way that you can dig into all of the things that each child is excited about. You can't spend a whole bunch of time and attention on art for that one kid who just wants to draw everything. And you can't also spend the same amount of time and energy and attention on the kid who's super into engineering and STEM and Lego and all the building. And then the same amount of time and attention on the kid who wants to read all of the books and write stories all day long. It's not possible to be able to dive into those topics with depth and with excitement and energy and passion, and to really give it the time and attention that each child might need or want. You have to balance it somewhere. Whereas when we have one at home, I can take a topic that she is incredibly passionate about and really interested in, and she can lead the way with it, and I can just follow for as long as she takes me on that little trek. So right now, we are obsessed with all things Greek mythology. All things. That is all we talk about. That's all we've talked about for a long time now. And it's been months and months and months. And we still love it. We're still learning about it. We're still interested in it. We're still able to dive into it so deeply and so richly, and read all of the stories and watch all of the documentaries. And, there's just a lot of opportunity to follow her interest and not cut it short because I need to move on to the next thing. So that was a huge priority for us, to be able to let her lead the way, and we will follow her interests. The second major why was the flexibility of schedule. Our daughter does a lot of activities. She loves dance. She does competitive dance, which means she dances several nights of the week. We own a martial arts studio, so she does karate. We own a gym, so she happens to also do powerlifting, junior powerlifting. She just does a lot of activities. She enjoys a lot of activities. She's a really social kid who loves to try new things all the time. And we felt like we were kind of getting to the point where all day, every day, she was at school. from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. And then in order to be able to dig into her interests with her activities or, extracurriculars, that took up the majority of evenings and weekends. And we just really didn't get much family time left. So at that point, we were kind of asking the questions, okay, do we take her out of the extracurriculars that she really enjoys so that we get more time as a family? Because, we can't take out school. Turns out you can. So that's the choice that we made, because it allows her to still spend the time and attention on those extracurriculars. We don't have to sacrifice them. And then we don't have to sacrifice our time as a family, which is really lovely. So that flexibility of schedule was a key component. And also with those extracurriculars or with some of her hobbies or her school projects or things like that, we just have a lot of variety in our schedule. So, for example, she's a tiny entrepreneur. She runs her own little bath products business, and she does local farmers markets, craft markets and such to sell her little products. And this past year, we were able to take out entire weeks of formal school, we'll call it, and not really worry about the curriculum so that she could spend all week preparing her products for her market. And we were able to make those decisions and allow her the time and attention to focus on, a particular project for that week because of the timing related to the market on the weekend. Or when she has a dance competition that's on a Thursday and a Friday, I don't have to worry about the content that she might be missing. I could shift when we did our schoolwork maybe to the weekend before, or maybe we only do 3 days that week and we can do other days later. We had the flexibility to move and manipulate things based on our schedule because my husband and I both still work full-time. So we had the ability to maneuver our schedule and do our schoolwork, do our curriculum, and learn in those pockets of time throughout our day that best suited our family and best suited the other activities and interests that we all have. So flexibility was a huge benefit that we got from making this choice. The third why was dissatisfaction with the learning environment that she was currently in. And it's funny because I already said we didn't have any negative experiences with the school system per se, but the system in and of itself is not conducive to following the interests or passions of individual kids. It's not conducive to following each of their learning style or the time that they might need on a certain concept. You have to balance that out with so many individuals. So the dissatisfaction is a bit of a systemic problem. It just kind of goes with it. And we have the ability to do something different. We have the ability to spend longer on a math concept that might just need a little bit more time to really sink into, or to move quickly through something that she's picking up fast and we really don't need to spend extra time on. And we have the ability to adapt how we're presenting information or concepts in a way that she's going to learn best. So while there was nothing inherently negative with her previous public school, the entire system is a bit of the problem. And we had the opportunity to do something different. So that was the choice that we made. And next one. It gave us the ability to slow down. I don't know if any of you experience this, but me as a parent, waking my child up in the morning and getting her off to school was like a Jekyll and Hyde alter ego situation. We would wake up in the morning and it would be yelling and rushing and screaming and, tears, getting out the door. First of all, getting up, getting dressed, getting fed in time, getting out the door, getting to the school drop-off line in time, picking her up at the end of the day, rushing home, having a snack, getting ready for dance class or karate class, rushing there, rushing home for dinner, or eating dinner late and then rushing to get ready for bed, and then doing it all again the next day. Everything was a rush. And I was always impatient, and I was always stressed, and I was always annoyed, and I was always yelling all the time. I didn't like that. She didn't like that. It was not conducive to either of us. So now we don't do that. We don't rush. We don't yell. Okay, I shouldn't say we don't yell. We don't. It's not as frequent as it used to be, okay? I am an imperfect person. It's going to happen now and again. But we got the ability to slow down. We got the ability to sit down at lunchtime and have a meal together and talk. We got the ability not to whiz through the math lesson, and if she was struggling or distracted or just wasn't into it in that moment, I could say, go outside, take 15 minutes, get some fresh air, loosen up your body, move your body, relax, and come back to this with a bit of a different perspective. We had the time to do that. Nothing was a rush. We didn't need to get anything done by a certain timeline. If that day was not the day for math, we moved on and we could do it the next day. It was not a big deal. And so that slowdown had a huge impact on the quality of our relationships. And I didn't feel like I was just constantly yelling and stressed all the time. And that was a big deal. Okay, last one. This is my favorite one. And I've kind of talked about it already within a bunch of these other whys. But the biggest one, the one that supersedes all the others. If somebody asks me for my one reason why we went from public education to homeschooling, it is focus on family bonding and focus on relationships and focus on family time. There's a quote out there or a metric somewhere that says that homeschooling your child buys you back essentially, please don't quote me on this, I could be making this number up, but it's something like 14,000 hours you get back with your child by not sending them to public school. And that just hit home to me the first time I heard that, and I just could not imagine any other way. I did not go into parenthood to then ship my child off and have somebody else raise them and build relationships with them. That was not what I wanted. So it was just one of those things that just really deeply resonated with me. And I recognized that she was growing up so fast and we weren't going to get that time back. And this was the way to effectively get it back. And so that was probably our biggest reason, was now we got back all of that family time that we felt that we were missing out on. And here we are 2 years later. And all of those reasons still exist. All of those reasons are still what keeps us excited about it. All of those reasons are what's driving us forward and why we envision continuing to do this. And that might change down the line. Who knows? Things change. We got to be open to that. But those are the major reasons for right now. And those continue to be the reasons that we dig into this every day, even sometimes on those more challenging days where people are not getting along as well, or we're having some tension. The pros definitely still massively outweigh the cons. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this first video. Let me know if any of those resonates with you, or if you are homeschooling currently, if one of those was the reason that you made that choice as well. Or maybe if you have different ones. I don't know. Let me know. Tell me about what your major whys are, or what's kind of calling on your heart to maybe make that move if you've been thinking about it. All right. That's it. That's all. Until next time.